Well, I think we are in the middle of a transition and people feel it. The Bitcoiners are pushing us in one direction, but we obviously don't want it to be this chaotic, right, deflationary bust seismic shift where a bunch of people are trying to get on the life raft and they feel like they can't. And it's interesting because following you, you're really interested in AI and some of the developments in decentralized, protocols like social media, including Nostr. So how do you think this will all converge, and how will AI transform our lives as we transition to Bitcoin?
It's a really hard one because it comes down to training the data set. And whenever I look at just between the US and China, so like our data sets are much more decentralized and more difficult to access than in China, where you have a government entity that literally just is clawing all the data into a consolidated database in order to train it however they deem necessary. Now, I think the Achilles heel of that is who's ever sitting at the top of that's choosing how to train that plethora of data relative to the more compartmentalized type data that you have here in a free, I'm using air quotes, a free and open marketplace. I think that's going to be the underpinning of nobody really trusting that AI because of the biases that are going to be trained into it.
That's crazy to think about, that this artificial intelligence will also have a bias, and we're going to have to pick between AIs, essentially.
Big time. It is going to, depending on how it's trained and depending on what the interests are of the people that are training that. Because I can tell you from a data standpoint, the data set that they're going to be able to pull over in countries like China are going to be massively, like way bigger than the US. At least that's what I suspect. And so here in the US, and I mean the Chat GPT is it's getting crazy. Like for me personally, the little bit that I've played around with it, the stuff that you're seeing, the pictures that are being created through this type of technology, I just can't even imagine where it's going to be in 5 years. And I just saw Elon Musk just made an announcement, I think it was yesterday or the day before, where he's going to try to train his own version. And I mean, he makes a lot of announcements, but the point that I'm really trying to focus in on is the narrative of the biasy of who's training the data set is already starting to emerge. And so you might have these various forms of AI that have biases actually as a selling point to their use. And I just don't know what that looks like. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I know.
We're in totally uncharted territories. And then how does it relate back to Bitcoin and free and open speech like Nostr and stuff like that?
Right.
I don't know that I have an intelligent way to look at it at this point in time, because it is just such uncharted territories. But I think we can rest assured that there's going to be kind of this this point in maybe the next 5 to 10 years where things get very, very interesting. And Eric Weiss had an interesting post, but it did make me think, is like, wait till the AIs start figuring out how powerful Bitcoin is, and like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? Because although Wall Street's incentivized not to understand Bitcoin, and a whole bunch of other existing legacy entities are incentivized not to understand Bitcoin, some of these AIs might start understanding it, and that's gonna be an interesting potential turning point as well.
Well, forgive my directness, but I'm worried that this technology is going to make us dumber. If people don't have to think for themselves. I mean, I've seen people tweeting that they don't even have to write college papers anymore, because they could just input information and it spits out a better essay than the average student could write.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think my wife really shares that point with you, is the kids are kind of like learning to write and things like that. She's like, I was showing her some of the stuff and she's like, this isn't good, Preston. I was like, well,
you have to think for yourself.
You do. And so, I mean, like any technology, it's a tool to make you more productive. And underneath of technology that we're using right now, we don't understand how it works, and because it's built in layers, right? So here's a counter argument to that, is like, you can go to AI and you can be like, hey, I want, you could pull up some type of obscure thing. Give me some sources on this obscure topic, right? And it'll provide 3 sources and be like, give me 5 more, and it'll give you 5 more. And it'll be like, help me understand in any of these sources where it talks about this particular thing. Like, can you find me a quote that it talks about this particular thing? It'll provide 10 quotes. And then you can be like, oh, what page number is that quote from? And it'll tell you. Like, in the past, the amount of time that you would have to spend plowing through resources to just uncover one quote that matches maybe an argument that you're trying to make in the research is how I think it's going to be extremely powerful for people conducting research and being able to tie together obscure things that like the time suck there from a researching standpoint is just unbound. Like, that would take you months, and now you can literally do it in minutes. That's a really profound thing with AI that I'm really personally excited about. But with respect to writing, like, you're exactly right. Like, the kids can just, I couldn't imagine being a college student right now.
Right.
I couldn't even imagine like how they're dealing with this. But
yeah, my AI wrote my paper. Well, I appreciate your points. You're more positive about it than me, because I start to think of movies like Idiocracy and just wondering what the future will look like. But
the knife can be used to murder. The knife can be used to save, the surgeon can use it to save somebody's life. And I see AI in the exact same way, but it's so much more, the magnitude of it is just like off the charts compared to, like, technology typically kind of moves things at a slower pace. Right. But now, and this goes perfectly to Jeff's, thesis of his book,
right.
Like, we're on fold 45 with AI, or fold 46, and we're now moving the distance of planets with this leap in technology. And so, like, is it bad? Is it good? It's both. But the magnitude is just so profound that it's difficult for you and me to even wrap our heads around, like, what is this?